What's going on, people? Street? We're back with another match reaction. Please make sure you smash that like button. Please make sure you share and subscribe to the channel. Now, Europa League football. Liverpool obviously rounding off their Europa League campaign where they have already topped the group. They were already assured of that based on their last game before this. But playing against USG away, obviously again just before their big game against Manchester United at the weekend. Unfortunately, Liverpool did actually lose the game 2-1. Obviously, there was a lot of youngsters, Klopp rotating the team, leaving a lot of players at home. Mo Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Alisson, VVD, Szoboszlai on the bench, Nunez on the bench. He did leave quite a lot of players out. Joe Gomez on the bench. Obviously he did come on, and it was a really young team. It was actually Liverpool's youngest ever team to start a game in Europe. The average age of the team was 22.4 years. So really young, up against a team with an average age of 26.6. So of course that kind of gives you some indication, and it kind of gives you a little bit of an insight into the kind of team and the kind of game that Liverpool were probably in for, before the game actually started. But we're going to get into my match reaction, quick ratings. Should be a quick one today. So guys, make sure you tune in and let's get into it.
Through the lot, now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Tables turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
Yo, big up people, big up. What is going on? It's G, and we are back again, like I said, with our match reaction for tonight's game, or early evening game, up against USG. As I mentioned, obviously Liverpool losing the game 2-1. That's never nice. You never want to be losing games, whatever the competition. But as I mentioned before, obviously you got to provide context in these kind of games. It's the last group game of the competition. Liverpool are already assured of top spot, and we played a bunch of youngsters. If I'm being totally honest with you, we didn't. This wasn't a game. I'm not going to say Klopp didn't take it seriously, because that would be. I don't think any manager goes out into any game and says, I don't want to win the game. Of course he does. He would have wanted to see a fantastic performance from some of the young players who, were able to get a chance. He would want to see fantastic performance from, some of the senior players, the fringe players, within the team. But unfortunately, he didn't actually get that in the game. But we did play a lot of youngsters and a lot of fringe players. So again, it's the caveat. It's the caveat, to be honest. But as I said, we're already through to the next round, meaning we don't have to do I think it's the round of 32. I believe that's what it is that comes up next, the round of 32. So we ain't got to bother with all that kind of rubbish. So yeah, we're good to go. We're good to go. And obviously we move on to our next game against Manchester United at the weekend. I don't think this is going to hamper the preparations, for players like Mo Salah and Alisson and Van Dijk. I don't think they're going to care one bit at all, to be honest with you, especially because they weren't on the pitch either. So, it's one of those, man. And I think looking at the game just as an overall quickly, all the goals, in that first half. But I think looking at the game, what I will say is, yes, the context is, of course, Liverpool were defeated, but it was still a poor performance. It was generally still quite a poor performance. And you'll see in my match ratings in terms of some of the more senior players, some of the senior players were actually worse than some of the young players, which just was a little bit confusing for me, because there were just some players in there, that maybe should have done a little bit better, in my personal opinion. Again, I'm not going to say, obviously your performance might be impacted with some of the players that you have around you, but you can still put in a decent enough performance, so, and I just felt like that wasn't really there. Liverpool looked quite open in the game. We'll take a look at some of the stats and stuff like that in terms of that. But ultimately, look, we're through. So it is what it is. So there's not too much complaining coming from me. Now, let's take a look here. If I just share my screen with you guys, and then we'll take a look at my ratings. Boom, boom, boom. I'm not going to rate the subs. I put all the subs at 4 or 5, just for argument's sake. But obviously, this is for the first team. So Kelleher back in goal, obviously with Alisson having a break. I gave him a 5.5. Beaten at the near post for one of his goals. Personally, that wasn't really it for me. And the weird thing about someone like Kelleher is that obviously, of course, we've had Alisson in goal. We know how great Alisson is, and he probably saves that shot and all these kind of things that we probably would say. But there are some things, sometimes even just the basics in a general sense. At times, I don't know what it is this season. Maybe we overgassed him. Maybe we just overgassed Kelleher before because of those penalty saves and stuff like that. And, Liverpool were, winning the League Cup, winning the FA Cup. Maybe it was just a bit of that. And maybe he is or is not as good as we go out there and claim and that we say. But when I'm looking at someone like Kelleher, at times I'm not that confident in the guy, man. And especially recently, I don't know what it is. But again, you're playing in front of that kind of defense. You guys can see it there. Luke Chambers, Jarell Quansah, Ibu Konate and Conor Bradley. It's going to be difficult for anybody. Even Alisson would struggle to not concede in a game like this with that kind of defense. But I just felt like overall, just a 0.5 better than average. Moving on to both Luke Chambers and Conor Bradley. Conor Bradley obviously been out, injury and stuff like that. Luke Chambers, of course, coming in as well. I felt like, again, quite unfortunate, but I felt like for the both of them, it was quite a poor performance in terms of just their overall defending. More so Conor Bradley, if I'm being totally honest with you. I felt like with Conor Bradley in the game, he just seemed to, at one point I was like, where are you playing? I'm a little bit confused as to what your actual role is in the team. You just seem to kind of be doing your own thing, doing your own thing. And I haven't really got a clue as to really what's actually going on. And that was kind of worrying me. And Luke Chambers was a little bit of the same as well. Felt like they were both getting caught out in possession. They were both getting caught in positions maybe a bit too high and wide at times, which then allowed for Union SG to just literally just cut us through at all points. Now, not just their fault, of course not. The midfield is obviously there to be able to help with that, but I did feel at times, it just looked a little bit naive. It almost felt like when I'm looking at those two, and also Quansah and Konate, it was a whole defense thing. But when I looked at the entire defense, it was like Liverpool play with a high line. That's our thing. That's what Klopp wants the team to do. No, cool, whatever. It is what it is. But it almost felt like they were taking it literal. It reminded me of that Tottenham game against Chelsea, where this is what we want to do. So we're going to do it regardless. And they were playing so high, but it was like there just seemed to be no real communication from. And again, this is where I expect Konate to show some level of leadership, and he didn't show any. But when I'm looking at it, I'm like, someone needs to be able to just, pull everybody into position at times, because it's not even the fact that you're playing the high line. The high line is the high line. Okay, play that. But players are getting pulled out of position. You got this guy moving up too far forward. You got that guy moving too far forward. You got this guy who's in my position. I've had to swap. But to me, it was just quite messy, if I'm being totally honest with you. But it is what it is. Should go to Konate. I don't feel like he did anything bad, so to speak, in the game. There were, as I said, at times he was catching himself out of position. I probably could have given him a 6, if I'm being totally fair. No, that's probably exactly what I'm gonna do. Actually, let's change Konate's score. I'll give him a 6, because again, like I say, man, I am looking for leadership at times in these kind of moments, in these kind of games with these kind of players in and around you. You're one of the leaders on the pitch. Forget your age and whatever. You're one of the leaders, especially in defense. You're the most experienced player that we have in that defense. And again, you got outshone by someone who's younger than you and less experienced than you. And that worries me when I see sometimes when we play teams like this, with young players and some senior players, it always seems to be the young player, whoever that might be, who always seems to outperform, some of the senior players, in the team. But, it is what it is. But yeah, I felt like Konate was probably our second best, defender. Our best defender and my man of the match of the day was Jarrell Kwanzaa. Again, a bit like Konate, finding himself in areas of the pitch where I was a bit like, what are you doing there? Just keep it calm, keep it cool. Felt like he was just I don't want to say nervous, because he can't be nervous. He's played, in a fair few games this season, but there wasn't much control with him at times, not all the time, but at times. He made good tackles every now and again, which is why I give him a high rating. And obviously his goal, was fantastic. But yeah, along him and Konate, yeah, that wasn't it at all. Endo, I don't know what we can say on Endo. An absolutely atrocious performance from Endo, if I'm being totally honest with you. Yep, again, Endo's getting himself hooked off half time. I don't know, man. I really don't know when it comes to him, but we'll move on. Curtis Jones, again, poor performance from Curtis Jones, captain on the night. Again, I expected more from the whole midfield, not just him, but the whole midfield. And you are the captain. And yeah, it just really wasn't there. One of the goals, obviously his fault, holding on to the ball, losing it, giving up possession. Yeah, Jones, man, that was a really poor performance, and I was kind of disappointed in his game as an overall. Elliot, nice touches, but again, didn't really impose himself in the game. Was picking up the ball almost sometimes in no man's land, not really doing anything with it. I wanted him to be kind of the creator in that midfield to, feed the front line, but again, nothing from him. And the front line as a whole, just obviously these guys have never played together. Kai Gordon coming back from a long injury layoff, Ben Doak having been injured as of recently as well, with Gakpo being the senior figure up there. Again, they've not played together, so there was no chemistry whatsoever, but none of them really covered themselves in too much glory, especially Gakpo, to be honest with you. Ben Doak was probably the best out of all of them, but it was all quite an average performance, if I'm being, 100% honest, with you guys. But yeah, that's just that. Hey, look, listen, out of 10, that performance was like a 3 or 4, from Liverpool. But did it really matter? No. It's just one of those kind of things. So we move on to the next game against Manchester United. Obviously, we've got to make sure that we've obviously got to make sure that we back up our ideas. But I don't envisage the same things. Well, I envisage that Liverpool can be cut open because they've proven that all season. I just don't think it'll be as bad as we saw it this evening, if I'm being 100%, honest with you. But, it is what it is. And even just taking a look at this, one of their goals, I'm pretty sure. Now, my eyesight isn't the greatest, and I do need my glasses at time, but I'm pretty sure that looks offside. But that's a conversation for another day. I'm sure if that was a Premier League game, we needed the 3 points, of course, then people would be going on and on about it. I'm just going to quickly show the stats from the game for you guys. So hopefully you guys can see it. Yep. Cool. So you can see we had obviously the lion's share of possession within the game, as I kind of expected us to do so. But expected goals, 2.21 for them, 0.29. That shows you possession doesn't mean anything. They had 15 shots to our 4. They had 6 on target to our 3, which is actually quite good in terms of percentage-wise from us. They had 3 big chances. We had none. Accurate passes. We had 502. Again, it's a lot of what Liverpool do anyway in games, is that we just pass it around for passing sake. But I guess if that's the way that we wanted to play, and then of course this is just the open play goals, expected goals within the game. So again, it was that kind of game. It honestly, like, there isn't really too much to go into. I'm not gonna. I know people who before I come on here and start saying, "Oh, this shit." Nah, I'm not really gonna do that. Ultimately, there's a lot of young players out there who are not likely to play many more games this season, if any, and still need a bit more development. And it's going to be difficult for some of them to be able to come into the team as it is. So, wait and see. I was happy to see Scanlon come on. I like Scanlon. Saw him in the preseason. I thought he looked really, really good. It's good to see Kai Gordon back. I ain't seen that guy in time. Ben Doak as well. He's always got bright sparks about him, Ben Doak. He always seems like that type of player. He's always got something about him. If he just kind of neatens his play up a little bit, I think he could be a real threat, in the future. If I just show you guys the Europa League table, So you guys can obviously see. Bear with me, my people. All right, share that screen for you guys. Boom. All right, so you guys can, hopefully you guys can see this larger than that, actually. Cool. So you guys can obviously see the other groups as well. So you got in Group A, West Ham and Freiburg. At the time of this video, West Ham obviously already through, and Freiburg are through as well. You can see in Group B, Marseille and Brighton are both through in that group. Group C, at the time of this video, Sparta Prague and Real Betis are through, but I can see Rangers are on 9 points. So I don't know how that that's going to work itself out, but I think that's as of currently right now. Again, this is I'm filming this, at the time of the games actually kicking off as we speak, with Brighton and Marseille currently drawing 0-0. So things could look a little bit different come the end, but I believe those will be the two teams to go through. Group D, you've got Atalanta and Sporting, and then obviously you've got Liverpool's group with Liverpool and Toulouse going through. Group F, you've got Villarreal and Stade Rennes. Group G, excuse me, you've got Slavia Prague and Roma, and then probably the second best team in this competition currently, in my personal opinion, you've got Leverkusen with Karabakh FK. Leverkusen 6 out of 6, 18 points, 19 goals, 3 goals conceded. Absolutely fantastic this season. So yeah, look, Liverpool are still the favourites to go through in this tournament. Favourites to win the tournament. So, excuse me. I think it's just one of those. You take the L, we move. It wasn't a great performance. Klopp obviously knows. Again, there's 2 defeats in there, which isn't really a good thing. Union SG also had 2 defeats, which is actually quite funny. Toulouse have only lost once in this entire group, which is also crazy, but it is what it is. We are through. We are top of the group. We go through. We don't have to go through that round of 32 and stuff like that. Let me know, obviously, your thoughts in the comment section in regards to the game itself. Who do you guys want to see us face in the next round? I'm pretty sure everybody wants to try and potentially avoid Bayern Leverkusen for the time being, but at some point we've got to face these kind of teams anyway, so I don't really care who we face, to be honest with you. I think Liverpool have got a good chance of obviously winning this competition, so we'll just have to wait and see. But guys, that is the end of the video. Make sure you smash a like, make sure you share, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. I'm G, and we are out.